This is the money seminar being led by Leonard Orr. So we're going to produce a tape. I did the money seminar for the Rolf Institute a couple years ago, and we've sold and recorded it and marketed it, and we've sold thousands and thousands of them. And every once in a while I hear from somebody who's been listening to it for a year, and it's and they tell me all kinds of stories about what it did. But that was just a 2-hour talk, and this is going to be approximately a 4-hour seminar, and so all of the material that I did didn't get in that, and so I recorded another seminar which I put a lot of other information in that wasn't in the original one, and we've been marketing that with great success. In fact, I'm just about out of it. So I figured it was time to do a seminar that had everything in one place. And so I'm going to try to do that. So this... So I made an outline. And so I'll check my outline from time to time, if I remember, and see if I can cover everything. Well, the money seminar is an interesting experience. It usually turns out to be mostly lecture, and it works okay that way as long as I keep people from falling asleep. Because money puts people right to sleep. I mean, if you discuss principles about money that really work, they put people right to sleep. Because very few people really want to solve their money problems because they have a lot of psychological motivation invested in them and psychological justification invested in them. And so these principles really work, and they really solve people's money problems and make people prosperous and wealthy. And so I'll try to stick right to the point. There's a lot of just fantastic concepts and fantastic ideas that you can put to use. But you see, the more practical it is, the more unconscious it makes people. And so I try to spruce it up with a little entertainment and smart comments and some interesting stories from time to time. And so I'll try to keep that to a minimum. And if I tell any stories, well, I'll try to tell stories that are not in the other 2 tapes. So I think what I'll do is give you a 2-minute version of the money seminar, and then I'll do a 10-minute version of the money seminar, and then we'll try to cover the first law before the break. So for the 2-minute version, the money seminar is about building a prosperity consciousness. And a prosperity consciousness is functioning conveniently and effortlessly in the material world. That's one definition. Another definition of a prosperity consciousness is that you carry your prosperity around with you. It's not in banks. Carry it around with you in your mind, and you can materialize money whenever you feel like it. And so a person with a prosperity consciousness can get up in the morning, create a plan, and have conceivably any amount of money that they could conceive by the end of the day. That's a prosperity consciousness, and if not by the end of the day, at least by the end of the week. And so I have a prosperity consciousness, and I've materialized it all over the place. All over the world, actually, and I've trained lots of people I can just put them in an airplane and send them someplace and where they've never been before and don't know anybody, and they'll land, and the first month they're there, they'll make $1,000 to $10,000 the first month. And so I've trained a couple dozen people who can do that and who do it regularly. And I do it regularly. One of the characteristics of a prosperity consciousness is the willingness to start over again. to give up everything that you have and start over again. And you can see that the willingness to start over again is also the willingness to give up everything that you have. And so that, if you look at the common denominator of those two positions, what you come out with is spiritual enlightenment. And so I'm going to talk about that. Basically, the first law of wealth is involving a practical aspect of spiritual enlightenment. I think I'm in the 10-minute version now. And for the 10-minute version, I'll give you a quick summary of the 4 laws of wealth, and then we'll spend the rest of the evening expanding them. So, and what I think I'll do for the 10-minute version is give you a summary. I'll give you my outline, and then I'll give you 10 or 12 affirmations about the money seminar. And I would suggest that you take notes on these. Because, you see, these ideas will work fantastically for you if you work with them between seminars. The fact is that if you come to enough of these seminars, why, you'll get it, even if you don't work with them. But if you work with them between seminars, why, they'll work even faster. So I'm going to give you, if anybody need paper or pen? Okay, here's about 3 people that need some paper. Who has some extra paper? Okay, who needs an extra pen? Who has an extra pen? Okay. Okay, well, here's an extra pen here. Right there's 1, 2, 3. So that's a demonstration in abundance. We have more paper and pens than anybody needs. Okay, who has some more paper? He needs a piece of paper. There you go. Here comes one. Shows up in abundance. Yes?
In other words, okay, I didn't really know what this was all about. I was told to come here. And in other words, this is CIA. This is an ongoing process. This is not just come in, get an earful, and go away. This is an ongoing process that involves you.
Well, if you get anything, it's an ongoing process. If you learn anything while you're here, it's an ongoing process. But this seminar is an independent entity of itself. It's ongoing for most people because most people can't stay conscious through the whole thing. And so then they need to come back a few times in order to get it. And then it's an ongoing process also because it's pretty hard for me to put the same material in every seminar. So it's always different and more or less entertaining than the last one. And, $15, I mean, how can you get a better evening of entertainment for $15 than to come to the money seminar? So, and then it's ongoing also because people buy my tapes and they listen to them until they get rich. So it can be either ongoing or not. The fact is that waiters have come to this seminar, and as a result of writing down these affirmations and getting the impact of all the positive ideas on their mind, they went out and doubled their tips the first week after they were here, without even working with the ideas. Okay? So you're probably in the right place. If you're not, why, we'll give you your money back at the end of the evening. And I don't know how to take the humor back. Like an associate of mine who does the money seminar around the country, he said, the seminar is guaranteed. If it doesn't work for you, why, I'll give you double your poverty back. I thought that was brilliant. So this is a 10-minute version. So the first law of wealth is the earning law. And the earning law is that all human wealth is created by the human mind. So spiritual enlightenment is the key, understanding the nature of the mind. Applying the power of the mind with affirmations. And then understanding the inhibitors of the mind, which are what I call the 5 biggies that I'll talk about later. Then activating the power of the mind with creative thinking, imagination. And then I'll talk about a couple of ways to apply that practically, what I call the sales principle. And another one is the services business. So the 3 affirmations that I want to give you for the first law of wealth are: I deserve to be prosperous and wealthy. I deserve to be prosperous and wealthy is the first one. Say it a couple more times, give you a chance to write it down. I deserve to be prosperous and wealthy. And you can use other words like rich and abundant, affluent and generous or whatever. Okay, next one is my job, or if you like you can substitute my pleasure, is the pipeline by which I tap the infinite wealth of my United States economy for my own personal desires. My job is the pipeline by which I tap the infinite wealth of my United States economy for my own personal desires. My highest pleasure is the pipeline by which I tap the United States economy for my own personal desires. The infinite wealth of the United States economy for my own personal desires. Okay, the third one.
One more time.
Okay, my highest pleasure is the pipeline by which I tap the infinite wealth in the United States economy for my own personal desires. And the third one, and this is the most valuable idea in the universe. So I have often sold this idea for $50. And you can get any amount that you can imagine from this idea, and I'll talk about that a little later. The idea is my personal connection to infinite intelligence and infinite being is adequate enough to yield a huge personal fortune. My personal connection to infinite being and infinite intelligence is adequate enough to yield a huge personal fortune. Okay?
One more time.
My personal connection to infinite being and infinite intelligence is adequate enough to yield a huge personal fortune. So having all these affirmations repeated on the tape is a good idea, don't you think, Robert?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, second law of wealth is the spending law, or the giving law, or the exchanging law. And so when I get into this, I'll talk about negotiating, talk about budgeting, I'll talk about the law of increase, I'll talk about the efficacy of carrying a $100 bill, I'll talk about the practice of generosity, and I'll talk about credit. Hardly ever have talked about credit. I'm putting a lot of new stuff in this seminar that I've never really explored. And so I'll give you a new good affirmation for the spending law, which is I have an abundant personal cash flow.
What is the statement of the second law?
I'll bring it up when I get into the long version, and I'll give it to you. It's basically the idea of exchange, and we'll talk about that. Okay.
Could you give that affirmation again?
I now have an abundant personal cash flow. Okay, the second one is every dollar I spend comes back to me multiplied. Every dollar I spend comes back to me multiplied.
Oh, Leonard, I have to tell you, I printed that on my checks.
Right.
And the people at the bank said, let me know if that works, the lady at the bank.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll be back real soon. And, I went back. And one day I was in the bank. And she said, oh, your checks. Is that working? So I had this huge deposit to make.
Right.
And she loved it. She said she was going to do it too.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, there's one person who got an artist and put my affirmations on designs for checks, and was going to sell them to the bank and copyrighted it and the whole works, but never did it. And so if any of you are interested in doing that, why, I have a place for you to start. So the next one is my income now exceeds my expenses. My income now exceeds my expenses. See, if you have any money with you right now, that's true. And we'll talk more about that. Okay, and so then two other ones. The more willing I am for other people to prosper, the more willing other people are for me to prosper. More willing I am to make other people prosper or rich, the more willing other people are to make me rich. And then you need to turn that around. The more willing other people are to make me prosper, the more willing I am to make them prosper. And that's the hardest part for people. See, obviously, to give is easier for people in our society to give than it is to receive. Because if you're a good receiver, you'd be rich. And so then if everybody was a good receiver, everybody would be rich. So everybody is giving. So then what the world needs is more receivers. It's a mind blower, huh?
Far out.
So how was the last one worded?
The more willing other people are to prosper me, the more willing I am to prosper them. Okay, so the third law is the savings law. And in this law, I'll tell you how to open 6 savings accounts and what to do with them that will build money models in your mind that will be causative in your personal prosperity. That is, they will create an abundant cash flow all around you.
Is that called kiting?
Now, these are savings accounts.
Oh.
Right. Kiting is done with checking accounts.
Right.
But you can do some kiting with savings accounts if you get the people that pay interest from the first. I mean, you can play some games with that, but that's always been more effort than it's worth. So I never tried that. Right. Okay, so the affirmations for the savings law are a part of all I earn is mine to keep. And that affirmation is the substance of a book called The Richest Man in Babylon that Tim has copies of. And the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, is the Bible about money. It was originally written in the 30s, I think, to cure poverty in the world. And the guy who wrote the book was wealthy, and he started a foundation for the purpose of teaching prosperity principles in the public schools. And I don't know, it may still be in existence, but the book is still a bestseller and has been for decades, yes.
Through a Dale Carnegie sales course that I took, I got turned on to The Greatest Salesman Ever Was. It was by Og Mandingo.
Yeah, he has that book too here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the essence right there.
Okay, so the second affirmation for the savings law is every day my income increases whether I am working, playing, or sleeping. My income increases every day whether I'm working, playing, or sleeping. And that's mathematically true when you have a savings account. So once it becomes mathematically true in your savings account and you use the affirmation, then it becomes true in every area of your life. And so each one of these savings accounts that I'm going to talk about is a mental model. It is a model that you will build in your mind, and that stimulates various money machines in your mind that create a lot of money for you. Okay, the fourth law is the investing law. So when I get to the investing law, I'll talk about profit and abundance, about the basic principles of investing, about the stock market, about real estate, and about a revolutionary concept which totally integrates the principles, all the valuable principles of capitalism and communism, and I call it the Prosperity Committee. And to my knowledge, it's never been done with the purpose behind it that I'm talking about, except banks and savings and loans and common stock corporations are really, in fact, the stock market is called people's capitalism. The stock market is really a form of socialism. And it's interesting that the socialists are against the stock market. I've never been able to figure that out. As well as I've never been able to figure out why Republicans are against welfare. Because welfare makes the local businessman rich. I mean, the welfare recipients don't get rich off it, but the Republicans do. So I could never figure out why Republicans are against welfare. I mean, human beings are crazy.
No principle.
So I'll just give you one of the affirmations about. I'll give you both of the affirmations for the investing law, and then I'll have to explain one of them later. The first one is, all my investments are profitable. So your mind can make all your investments profitable or half your investments profitable.
What was that again?
All my investments are profitable. So if you start out with the goal of making only half your investments profitable, or that they can't all be profitable, then that's what your mind will create. Okay, so the second affirmation for the investing law is I divide or diversify my profits into 4 categories. And so I divide or diversify my profits into 4 categories, and the 4 categories are reinvesting, reserves, expenses, and financial independence. And so I'll tell you what all those mean later. Reinvest a portion of the profits. You put a portion of it into reserves or into other types of investments. And then you put a portion of it into current expenses so that your profits don't become eternally reinvested and never do you any personal good. And then you put a portion of your profits into financial independence. Okay, well that was pretty close to 10 minutes. So that's a good 10-minute version. We accomplished a lot in 10 minutes. It's the first time I've ever been able to do that. Usually I get lost in my stories, and it takes me 3 hours to do the 10-minute version. So Robert's very pleased with me. Okay, so it's amazing what a little piece of paper will do. Okay, so we're going to talk about the first law. And so the first point under the first law is spiritual enlightenment. And so I used to teach prosperity to stockbrokers, and they used to get bugged when I would talk to them about, the basic self-improvement stuff and spiritual enlightenment ideas. And I explained to them that all ideas come in a hierarchy. That is, ideas are in a hierarchy in the universe, and the higher an idea is in the hierarchy, the more it controls. So that means that the more abstract an idea is, the more powerful it is. And so the ultimate power in the universe is pure abstraction. And so then if you don't get your mind straight about pure abstractions, then you're sapping your greatest power. And so I would talk to, they would usually let me talk about these abstract ideas after I explained that. And so then I would talk about these abstract ideas, and they'd usually double their income the first month, and then they didn't care what I talked about. So pure abstractions are the antithesis, they're the essential nature of human power. Pure abstractions are the essential nature of human power, and the more abstract you become, or the more spiritually enlightened you become, the more power you have on the practical level. And so you see, there's a kind of a reverse on that, which you can explain by thinking about the concept that, you see, money is the closest thing that you can get to God on the material plane. Because if you were God, then you could materialize and dematerialize anything instantly, right? Okay, so then money enables you to materialize and dematerialize things instantly.
Right.
So then money is in a sense, it blows your mind when you start thinking about that.
Apropos of that, I was thinking something on the way over here tonight. I haven't been to services, to Jewish Sabbath services in a long time. I was thinking on Friday evening, that was something that I'd kind of be doing again.
Right.
And then it occurred to me, wow, going to a money seminar instead, that is one of the things that is verboten on the Sabbath.
Right. And so you ended up in the synagogue.
Well, what you said seemed to me to be kind of beginning to handle that question.
Right.
Flipping it around.
That's right.
And looking at money as something that could be not profane at all, but the beginning of sacred power.
Right. That's right. So then, but you see, the more you investigate money, the more mystical it becomes. You see, what money is ones and zeros. And you see, a zero is a crooked one, and a one is a part of the circumference of an infinite circle. So, and you see, the only difference, see, a $1 bill and a $100 bill is about the same size, and the only difference is 2 zeros. And the zero stands for nothing. So, if you think about money, why, it'll make you spiritually enlightened. It's far out. And you see, the fact is that money is only paper. It's only paper, and money is harmless. Did you ever try to beat anybody to death with a $1 bill? So, money is harmless. For all of you spiritual people.
They invented the zero.
Huh?
Wasn't the Arabs that invented the zero?
I don't know. But at any rate, why holier-than-thou attitudes about money has harmed more people than money ever has. And like Reverend Ike says, the lack of money is the root of all evil. Well, and he stole that from Bernard Shaw. So money is harmless, and the fact is that it's mystical stuff. It's wonderful mystical stuff. And so the more mystical you become, the more prosperous you become. And the more prosperous you become, the more mystical you become. See, that's another lie that has been handed down from generation to generation, is that the rich, there's something wrong with the rich. And you see, the rich have never propagated that. And, you know, I mean, if that was really true, then probably some of them would have, at least some of them would have told the truth about it. But I can't think of any that did. So maybe that was a lie that was made up by the poor to justify their position. And you see, another thing about money motivation is that if you're truly spiritual, you're truly spiritually enlightened, and you're really holy, then you deserve money more than anybody else.
This is the end of Side 1.